This video is sponsored by DoubleCoin. Visit doublecointires.com for more information.
This month on the Road, we're all about electric trucks. Specifically, we've been talking to truck OEMs about how things have been going now that fleets have had these trucks for a while. But if you're a fleet that hasn't used an electric truck before, it all begins with that very difficult question: where do I start? It's a tricky thing because getting an electric truck integrated into your fleet is not as simple as a diesel-powered one, where you simply buy it and have it start running routes. There's charging, there's infrastructure, there's talking with your utility providers, there's figuring out the routes it will run and whether it will be financially efficient. It's a lot. For those who find this to be a lot to deal with, one potential solution comes from Verizon Connect in the form of their EV suitability tool. Mathew Long of Verizon Connect sat down with me to talk over the details.
You know, I feel like data, it can be incredibly helpful. If I think about, we were talking about in the beginning, right? Sustainability, right? It's top of mind for a lot of our clients, and it's a bit of a puzzle, I'd say, for certain folks to try to put all the pieces together. The pieces feel plentiful. It's like you've got a certain amount of understanding, where do I start with a charger and infrastructure? All of a sudden they're hearing about subsidies and potential rebates. They're thinking about tax incentives. It's like, where do I go there? And then suddenly they're thinking about, well, will this actual vehicle, if I were to replace it, will it actually be able to handle my daily needs? Can it be customized for my daily needs? And so one of the things we kept hearing is, can you guys provide a certain amount of data, some kind of recommendation tool to ultimately give us just a little bit of a start in the right direction? That way, internal to our organization, we could align some stakeholders and feel like we could take a step. We had actually worked internally with our engineers, our product analytics team, and we had put together what we describe as an EV suitability tool. And so this tool looks at data inside the platform that's already pre-existing. As long as you have 8 weeks of data, it will work. And ultimately, with a click of a button, Fleet Manager doesn't have to do anything. They can just go ahead and provide a tap, and it comes up with recommendations as to which vehicles could actually be switched over to EVs and which ones would be most ideal based off of the simple context of daily mileage. And we typically break it down into, is it an excellent fit? Is it a good fit? Or is it more of an okay fit? Excellent tells you that something like 100% of the time, it's likely gonna make that daily range spot on. Good, you're starting to see probably about 97, and okay, it's like, well, 95% of the time, it's gonna hit the daily recommendation. And then there's gonna be plenty of vehicles that might just really not be suitable at this stage, and that's okay. So our thought process is, if somebody can start there, leverage the EV suitability tool to have those clear recommendations, they're leveraging the data that already is in pre-existence, they don't have to do anything, and then ultimately they can take that, hopefully to an internal table with a variety of folks, safety officer, operations officer, different fleet managers who might exist depending on the size of the organization, financiers, etc., and start to feel as though that's the first part of that puzzle. Let me get started there. Now I at least know which vehicles I might want to hone in on and take a next step.
Yeah, and that's super important. Fleets are looking at EVs. There's, like you said, there's so many steps there that don't exist with diesel vehicles. Charging,
Totally.
Infrastructure, utilities, all of these things that you've never had to think about before.
Yeah, and I feel like the task can feel daunting, and that's why oftentimes we recommend start small, right, and make sure that you've got the right partners involved. Oftentimes, it's hey, have a trusted advisor in the form of a consulting partner who might be able to walk you through some of those steps. We actually partner with a few different outfits in that capacity, just because we recognize that certain folks may take that kind of EV suitability tool analysis and say, this is a great start, but now I need to understand, what am I going to invest in terms of the chargers? Where am I going to go in terms of setting up the infrastructure? We're going to put it at a depot site. Am I going to put it out at a different third-party site based off of where I'm traveling most often? And then, which incentives am I going to take advantage of? Are we going to do our own homework? Do we want to leverage a consultant in that capacity? So yeah, a lot of different things to kind of feel out. And as far as we're concerned, we're going to be your technology partner in the mix. We're going to help you use that data to be able to obviously have the centerpiece to get the conversation going and make it feel easier. Then once you have the EVs, we'll support you in the platform, no doubt. But we also recognize a certain amount of interoperability and partnership with other consulting partners is oftentimes helpful, even utility partners as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I can imagine something like, the suitability tool that you mentioned could be, continue to be useful down the road. If you get started and then you look a couple years later at your options, then maybe some of those vehicles that were good are now excellent because the technology's improved, something like that.
Totally. Yeah, you're spot on, right? It's going to evolve. Obviously, your data is going to naturally change inside the platform as well. So it is a living, breathing tool that it has legs for future use. So yeah, your pull today may not be the same pull, 6 to 12 months down the road. And you can ultimately kind of gauge where you are in a little bit of your sustainability kind of maturation process. And it's like, maybe you take your first plunge with that first EV or first 5 EVs, depending on how large your fleet is, and then you go from there.
Yeah, definitely. And like you're saying, that's where this kind of thing comes into play. We are all sort of figuring this out together. So, partnering with different companies, looking at data, having consulting, all of this is, especially helpful now because we don't know. We don't know how it's going to work. We're all figuring it out.
Totally. And look, new vehicles are coming out every single day, right? There's new manufacturers on the scene. It's like they're showing up at different expos, they're showing off their new specs, their new gear, right? Their new capabilities, their new chassis, their new customizable options. So I think it's an exciting space to be in. And it's fun when you feel as though there are new realms that are popping up. There's challenges that come with it, but it's fun to be helping obviously try to solve some of those challenges and create some outcomes along the way.
Yeah, definitely. It feels like we're at the start of something. And it's exciting
For sure.
to be in that part of it.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well, super interesting stuff. Thanks so much, Matthew. I think that's about it. So I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks so much, Alex. Really enjoyed chatting with you today. Appreciate it.